If you have a really good experienced team leader, you should be offering free coaching to your people. That should be a mandatory. Listen, we're going to sit down and
welcome to the MegaTeam Mastermind podcast. I'm your host, John Tiller. In each episode, we have dynamic conversations with industry powerhouses, MegaTeam leaders, coaches, and other thought leaders who are shaping the future of real estate teams. This podcast is brought to you by MegaTeamMentor.com, where you can get a free, detailed assessment of your real estate team's health, including a free customized scorecard that will quickly and objectively diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of your real estate team business. Now, let's get started on the journey of growth, impact, and legacy building with today's episode. Welcome back to the MegaTeam Mastermind podcast, where we interview successful real estate MegaTeam leaders who will inspire you by sharing real-world stories of success and failure, building profitable real estate teams that make an impact and leave a legacy. Hey, I'm your host, John Tiller, and today I couldn't be more excited that we have a very special guest, Wendy Willis, out of Newburyport, Massachusetts. I almost tongue-tied that, Wendy. Just north of Boston, a really great community there. She is the founder of the Willis and Smith team at Keller Williams. Wendy has been doing this for right about the same amount of time, right around the same time that I got in, Wendy. I got in right around September 11th, 2001. And it sounds like you probably got in around in the early 2000s.
I did, 2002.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Wendy's got 1,100 lifetime personal home sales in addition to her team. She runs a team that serves about 300 families a year and has 15 agents on the team. She runs that team with her co-founder with her partner. Wendy is the sole founder. Her partner, Elizabeth Smith, who is also a owner of the team there. Wendy, we're so glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Yeah. So give us a little bit of background. This story, we talked a little bit before we came on, a little bit about the story with you and Elizabeth. And so tell us a little bit about how you got here, both in your individual career and then how you ended up partnering with Elizabeth and what roles you have today.
Fantastic. So I got into real estate kind of default. I had been an attendee of open houses with my mother as a young child and loved it. And I was an accountant by trade. I came out of college as an accountant, practiced for about 10 years. And my husband had lost his job. And we were in the middle of an addition on our house. I had 18-month-old twins. And I said, holy heck, we got to get some money in this house. So I said, I don't want to go back to accounting. I need flexibility. So I dipped my toe in the pool of real estate, and it was a meant to be. My first year, I got really, really lucky and was New England Rookie of the Year for Coldwell Banker. And it just was a skill set for somebody who talks a lot and loves real estate. So it was just a match made in heaven. So I did it solo for about 10 or 12 years. I met my partner, and she's just the most amazing person. She's just this beautiful, vivacious, gorgeous woman who's just lovely. And she had raised her family and was looking to get into a professional career, reached out to me to see if she could be my buyer's agent. And I said, girl, you are one of 10. Your husband's one of 10. You're lifelong residents of this area, and you're gorgeous. You're going to be my partner. So that's what happened. We partnered up, created Willis and Smith, and it's been a great ride. It's been about 13 years now.
Wow, that's fascinating. So let's dial in a little bit on, so it's kind of unusual that you came from a CPA background. There are most CPAs that we know, when we do disc profiling, that kind of thing, they're detail oriented. They're generally not people oriented. And this is a people business. Not that they don't like people. Of course they do. But most of us, or most of them, I guess. But was that a big transition for you?
It's a great question. I think I was a lousy accountant. I really just never thoroughly enjoyed the work. I worked for a company that went from 10 people to 100 people. So I eventually morphed into the role of the human resources director, which I found much more fulfilling because it was much more people facing and allowed me an opportunity to interact. So it's like I said, I think the nice thing about accounting is it's taught me to be very formulatic and disciplined, and it's taught me to do absorption rates in my head. And it's just been a really great opportunity to use that business acumen, but I don't see it as something I would have done my whole life. My significant other, my guy, is a CPA, and he's loaded with personality. We laugh. We're like, we are not the stereotypical accountants.
I love that. I love it. Well, back to your partnership with Elizabeth. Tell me about
Mm,
your roles. Tell me about your roles that you share, and then tell me
sure.
about your different lanes. Are there things that she does that you don't do, and things that you do that she doesn't do? And I think you also mentioned that both of you are primarily doing sales, and you have a staff person who runs a lot of your team, an operations manager or another title there. Tell us about all that.
We do. So we have a very unusual team. It doesn't follow the Keller Williams model at all. So Elizabeth and I are both considered rainmakers, and I have my assistant is also our team leader. So Elizabeth Graves, who's my transaction coordinator slash buyer's agent slash everything, is a 30-year veteran in the business. And she needed flexibility because she's raising grandkids. And so that's how she came to be. And we are so blessed to have her because her knowledge is like anything I don't know, she knows. And we're just really able to work well together. So Elizabeth supports the entire team. And we have monthly meetings, which are always just sourcing for content, just to be able to make sure that we are providing our team with the best resources we possibly can. As far as the way our actual team functions, Elizabeth and I are just, we're in our lanes. We're both doing our things. Everybody on our team is an independent agent doing their own teams building. They're building their own teams within our team. So we're not doing it like a typical Keller Williams team where you have a rainmaker, they take half of the money of the person below them and then we just don't do that. And I think it really works well for us because we've had our team for 13 years. Everybody that kind of started with us is still with us. We're very family based. I know that sounds corny and a lot of people do that, but for example, last night we had a baby shower for one of our team members at my partner's house at the pool, and we had a ball. And we're very connected. Our team genuinely, we have a team, a group text that goes out every day, and we're always just like, who needs what and what's going on. And I've never worked in an organization prior to this that I felt like I had people that truly had my back and I've got theirs.
Wow. Wow.
It's
It
the
it
secret
sounds
sauce.
like that wasn't by accident though. That's what you created intentionally. You created the
Well,
kind
I
of
think,
place that you want to work.
yeah. And Liz and I are both really, really kind-hearted people. We care really deeply about our agents. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've given people money. I've never seen it back. Same with her. You do unto others as you expect to be done unto you. And Liz and I are both Christians, and we really firmly believe that we've been granted a lot of gifts in this life. And so we then just try to pay it forward.
I love that. I love that completely. I think that there are a lot of us, and sometimes we start out this way and sometimes we don't. We kind of get there as we're building, but we realize what the most important things are. We talk a lot about impact and legacy here, and that starts with faith and family, right? And that's amazing. That's amazing. So tell me about your superpower in business. What is
Mm,
Wendy's
what is my
superpower in
superpower?
business? Yeah.
The gift to gab. I would have to say I'm a good negotiator. It's just something sort of self-taught along the way. I now teach it to my team and to others. My business partners jokingly said, I hate being on the other side of a deal with you because it's brutal. I'm a big believer in win-win negotiating, but I can be very tough as needed. I do believe that the best negotiations are those that everybody comes out and goes, okay, I'm a little unhappy, but I'm okay. Like this worked for me. So I would say that negotiation is a strength of mine. And pricing, pricing is one of those things that we sort of take it for granted. There's so many algorithms out there. But again, I think coming from an accounting background, I approach it three different ways. So I look at all the comps, what's on the market, what's under agreement, and what is sold. And I look at all those and I fine tune those into what I call a floor and a ceiling in my CMA. So I look at properties that are inferior to the subject property and properties that are superior. And I kind of get it into this little bandwidth. Then from there, I do a square foot analysis just to do a quick, hey, what's the median sale price in this community comparative to the sale? And that's another touch point. And then I just look at an aggregate. So I'm just trying to be a little bit analytical about it in addition to just how does it feel? Is it special? Is there something about this that I can add a little bit more value? And I'll assign things like 10% for great view and then kind of weed it out by comparing. So I'm a little more analytical in the way I price than I think some of my colleagues.
I got it. That makes perfect sense. Now, has that served you well as a team leader? It sounds like on your team, like you said, it's a little bit different. You're not really sharing a lot of lead gen. It's more instead of giving a fish, you're teaching how to fish with
Yeah.
most of the agents on your team. Do you find passion in teaching that skill
Much
set to
so.
them?
Yeah, very much. And what we do, so my business partner and I do things a little differently. She's the best buyer's agent I know. Like, I don't know anybody who does buyer work better than her. If I ever bought a home, I'd have her do it.
Awesome.
So she, as a result, she pays for Zillow leads, and that has been her bread and butter. And she's made a fortune off of that. Her gross sales each year are at least 50 million, and Zillow's a part of that. So what happens is, by having so many Zillow leads, there's an abundance. So she definitely gives those to the team. How I contribute to helping our team is I give them open houses. I'm a listing agent. I'd say 90% of my business is listings. I have 10 listings closing in the next 2 weeks.
Awesome.
All those listings on my agents have an opportunity to do those open houses. And I don't ask for anything. That's all their business.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. That's bringing the partnership, bringing that more clear also. That's great. So let's talk about leadership a little bit, right? So it's clearly you are and have been for a long time a stellar agent. Elizabeth has been also, and you kind of brought her up and you saw what you had when she.
Oh, I did. She's awesome.
And why a team of 15? Instead of just the two of you? Because leadership's hard, right? So why be a team leader?
I don't know. I think we just stumbled into it. Seriously, what happened was she has 3 sons, brilliant young men, and they've all dabbled in real estate. One of them is still in real estate, but I think that's how it began, was her kids coming in, and she has a niece and a nephew in it. Again, that big family. So I think we just started to get some family into it, and then like friends of family. And the next thing you know, we're like, well, we got a team. Now, what do we do? So it was an accidental team.
I got it. What made you keep it? What made you keep the accidental team?
Because once it was growing, once it was growing, it was exciting. We have a very, very generous split. As a matter of fact, I've had our Keller Williams team leaders come back and say to us, "You're giving away too much money. I want to come back as a member of the Willis and Smith group." We're not greedy. There's a famous saying I like to use all the time. It's pigs get slaughtered. Like, give everybody a really fair deal. Take good care of them. Make a little bit of money off of them, but for the most part, we're just all in here together, working hard and trying to build a meaningful career path.
Now, I'm going to push back just a little bit, because most team leaders have found themselves where kind of agents are like, "Hey, can I join you? Can I partner with you?"
Sure.
And there are many that have become accidental team leaders, but the accident ends around 3 to 5 agents at the most, right? Then there becomes intentionality to say, "Hey, I really like this, and I want to create an environment where I can, because I really enjoy this." But there's Seth Godin calls it the dip. Brian Buffini calls it Death Valley, the area between having like 5 or 10 agents to the 15 plus agents, especially if you're on a generous split. Generous just being aggressive for the agent, right? A good split for the agent. You have to run the resources you have to provide them have to be on your side of that split. So how do you make sure that you stay profitable? Have there ever been times when you're like, "Hey, that portion of their split, we're not getting a return of profit on that"? And how do you manage that? How do you manage that challenge of staying profitable that way?
Again, I think from my business background, we're just laser sharp on expenses. We don't spend unnecessarily on marketing, because we have a fantastic reputation in our area. It's all social media. We have a full-time social media director who does a fantastic job for us, and that works for us. So we are able to keep our advertising expenses down. Our expenses, it works. I mean, are we making a ton of money off of our team? Absolutely not. But I'm 60, my partner's 57. We're both making really good incomes, and we're really happy with where we're at. So we're not the most like power-driven duo trying to empire build. Now, had I done this in my 20s or my 30s, I would have had a completely different trajectory, because I think that what we have is very special, and it could have definitely been scaled up. But at this point, at 60, I'm kind of like, I just want to continue doing what I'm doing. I thoroughly enjoy it, stay in our lane, and just see it to the end.
Well, I love that you said that, Wendy. That's one of the things our purposes behind this podcast is to help younger team leaders kind of see what the future might look like, and what those of us who've been doing it a little bit longer might do differently. And so I love that you shared that. Now, listen, so leaders, they prepare others for the future. And some might call this a light description. There's some volatility in the future of what the real estate industry looks like. There's AI is a big factor of, hey, what's going to happen there? And we all don't really know. It's kind of early on for
Right.
that, although there are ways that we're implementing that today. But the right around the corner, knocking on the door 2 months from now, is the NAR settlement. And so, as a leader, what do you forecast happening there and how that affects our industry? And how are you preparing your team for that?
Yeah, good question. We're just obviously working hand in glove with our team leaders at Keller Williams. Why reinvent the wheel? They've created all the contracts, so basically everything that we need, from our elevator speech to the contracts to everything that we need to do. And we're just working with Keller Williams. We're lucky enough to be a mega agent for a great company. So Keller Williams is running the show on this. We're following along.
One of the things we often talk about is, why are you with your broker? And
Sure.
this particularly right now, it matters to be with a great broker, right?
Oh, it
Because
does.
we're
It
looking for
100%
leadership,
does. Yep. I
looking
will
for
tell you,
leadership.
it's an interesting phenomena. When at one point in our trajectory, we really were looking hard at becoming our own brokers. I
Sure.
sat for the exam. I said, why are we spending the money on the split? And the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't want the responsibility. I don't want the
Right.
liability. It's a tremendous amount of responsibility on the broker of record. And
Right.
when I looked at what Keller Williams does for us and how incredibly effortless it is, and just I said, it's worth it. We're getting our money's worth out of Keller Williams. And so we decided to stay and just hunker down on what services could we provide our agents that would make them, understanding they're paying a little bit more to be with Willis and Smith than they would be maybe with another company. But we have a great downtown office. My transaction coordinator slash team manager does free coaching and goal setting and all that good stuff, that if you were with a bigger company, you'd be spending $1,000, $2,000 a month on that coaching that we give to our agents for free.
There you
And
go.
there's some secret sauce right there. That coaching,
There's the
keeping them
value add, right?
accountability.
It's all about figuring out how can we add value and what makes it a good
Yep,
deal for the agent that we want, right?
exactly.
Let me
Yes.
ask you this question. Do you ever get agents that come and say, hey, I want to work with you, but they're not a good fit?
Yeah. And I don't hire them. That
How do you
happens
handle it?
probably
So
10
tell me how
times a
you
year.
handle. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I
Go ahead.
interview them. I interview them. I'm obviously quite cordial and nice, and thank you very much. And then, down the road, they're calling me back, and I'm just saying, at this point, I think we're just going to keep the size that we want to keep, and we're not really adding on. I don't want to hurt anybody's
Right.
feelings, but I can tell
Sure.
when I'm sitting down and interviewing somebody, and I've heard 43 times in the first 2 minutes that this isn't the person for this team, because we really do have a big collective we at Willis and Smith.
Wow, that's really great. That's good. That's a good nugget right there. Listen for we instead of I. Looking for ideal team players. So tell me about that a little bit more. Have you ever made a bad hiring decision? And
Oh
how
God,
did you handle
yes.
it?
Oh, so I hired an agent who was a former client. I loved her. I thought she was just you know, very intelligent, well-spoken, dynamic, attractive, everything that you look at and go, oh wow, that's an attractive individual. So I hired her. She didn't, as you understand and know, it's a tremendous amount of work getting up to speed, understanding all the nuances. So there was a referral process within our team from one agent to another. She needed a little bit more assistance, and so we paired her with another agent on our team who was more experienced. They got the deal done together. They had agreed upon a number, and then this agent came back and said, oh, I didn't agree to that, and I want more. And it got greedy and it got nasty. And the agent who had been on our team and had been a stalwart person throughout. So anyway, long story short, I asked her to leave. I said, this isn't the culture for our team. I wish you nothing but the best. We're good friends. We see each other all the time. She's a great person. She just didn't fit our team culture.
Now, tell me about the process to get to where you got there. Was it like a three strikes rule? Was it, hey, I'm going to coach you up a little bit. Here's an issue that I'm seeing
Mhm.
with you. How did
It had
that
been,
work, and how long
yeah.
did you string that out?
Sure. It had gone on for about 3 days. I had sat down with both of them, had discussed, look, here's how you do this so you won't have a problem in the future. Everything needs to be in writing. So there was a little like overview, and then sat down to kind of help mediate it. And the individual that I asked to leave our team just was very inflexible, and they were being very greedy about the money and didn't see the other person's value, and basically coming in, saving the deal, putting in all the time and energy, didn't want to split it fairly. And, I sat down with my partner and my team manager, and I said, well, what should we do here? We all agreed this isn't the way we want to be doing business. And there had been some other things going on with that individual as well that just showed that they just weren't the right fit for our team. And so that was at the end of it. After 3 days of pretty intensive work, we decided that it wasn't a fit.
And so in the 3 days, were you were you talking to the agent about ways that they could redeem themselves? And then you just realized at the end of 3 days that that wasn't going to
Yes.
happen. It just
Oh,
was just
absolutely.
bad culture.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Because I liked her and I recruited her. So I obviously wanted her to stay. I saw her value. And, she's already turned into a big agent. She did everything I expected her to do. And I'm happy and proud of her.
that's amazing. There's this balance, right, between hey, I hired them, so I owe them the opportunity to fix whatever it is they're doing wrong.
Right.
And at the same time, as soon as it's clear that it's not going to be fixed, the team always has to come before the individual and they've just got to be managed out. So that's really helpful. Hey, let's talk a little bit about impact. We talked about some passions that you have, some things you're pretty involved in your community. Tell us
Mm.
about that.
Sure. I live in a little town called West Newbury, Massachusetts. It's directly next to Newburyport. Newburyport is a port city. It sits right on the Merrimack River and opens up right onto the Atlantic Ocean with Plum Island. So it's just a really aesthetically gorgeous area. West Newbury is the country version of it. I own a horse farm. I've got horses and donkeys and sheep and everything behind me. And I like West Newbury because it's just this beautiful, quiet little community, but it's next to everything that's fun and happening. So I've lived here approximately 30 years and I've served on the school committee. I've served on multiple affordable housing committees. I'm currently a park and rec commissioner. I just feel very strongly about giving back to my community and staying really involved. And I'm lucky enough to be able to do that. And it's incredibly satisfying.
Love that. Love that. Now, kind of along that, some community involvement, personal recreation. You are a fox hunter.
I
Is that right?
am indeed. Yes,
Man,
I
so tell
am.
us about that.
Well, I'm sitting here with a broken back, and it's my
Mm.
second broken back because apparently I have a weak spine or a poor seat. But anyway, yeah, I came off my horse about a month ago and broke a vertebrae, but it's fine. I'll be back on in 2 weeks. I'm very excited. So anyway, I'm a crazy horse person, and we have Myopia Hunt Club. It's the oldest hunt club in America, is located in Hamilton, Massachusetts. Hamilton, Massachusetts is like horse country extraordinaire. It's about 20 minutes south of me. And always been into horses, always loved it. And fox hunting is just a spectacular, crazy sport that you basically get on a horse and chase a drag scent. No animals are hurt in this. A drag scent is put out prior to the hounds going out. Approximately 20 hounds go out, chase the scent. That's called giving tongue. So we'll be going along, heading along, just a nice little walk or trot. And all of a sudden you'll hear the horns blaring from the master of the hounds. And then the next thing you know, the hounds are giving pursuit. And it's just thrilling. And then the next thing you're galloping over hill and dale and jumping everything in your path and praying not to die. But it's the most fun I can have on any given day.
That's awesome. And you own the oldest hunt club in the US. Did I hear that right?
No, I don't. I belong to
You
my
belong
own.
to it. Got it. Got it.
Yes.
Too, and that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I was telling you that I have some friends here in Virginia that are fox hunters, and it is a all engaging sport. Like it takes everything you have.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
made the mistake one time of calling their hounds
Dogs.
dogs.
Oh,
Yeah.
dear.
Oh
John,
man, you
very
don't make that mistake
faux
twice. That's
pas.
like
Big
calling
faux
somebody's
pas.
horse a donkey. Yeah, that's off limits. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, what's been nice about being involved in the equestrian community the way I have been for so many years is I now focus and specialize on equestrian properties, and I'm the top equestrian realtor in the North Shore, thank God. And I love that. I would much rather be out selling horse farms and walking around in my muck boots than putting on a pair of high heels and, going into a beautiful, well, that's not true. I love them both, but I do love working with my equestrian buyers and sellers.
Awesome. Well, we also talk a lot about legacy on this podcast. And so I wanted to ask you about faith and family are both important to you.
Very
And
much.
how do you integrate that as a whole person? Not just, hey, I care about my faith and my family over here, and I care about my business over there, and I care about fox hunting over here. Like, how do you integrate that? And how does it affect your business?
A good question. I usually will do one, if not two, free sales per year to a family in need. Just somebody who's just got a problem. Something is going on. I just sold something 2 months ago for a friend of a friend. they had gotten into really, really bad financial straits. They were in bankruptcy. They were really on the edge of just kind of losing everything. And I said, so my guy is a CPA. He came in and helped give them the financial advice and get them out of trouble with the IRS. I sold their house for free so that they could get all their money out of it and go find something. So that's just one of the areas that I'm always able to give back a little bit to folks that need some help. I hope that answered that. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Tell me, as we kind of wrap up, tell me about what you're reading or listening to right now.
That's a good question. Well, I'm so slammed right now, honestly, work-wise, and I'm coming off this injury which was a 1-month concussion. So my assistant, this is the funniest story. I have not, of course, the day the accident happened in the ambulance, my phone's blimping. I put 3 things under agreement. The day of my accident in the ambulance, my phone's like, we took the offer. I'm like, great. So anyway, the last month has just been honestly recovery for me. So I have not really been reading or doing anything other than, as my assistant says, you're back on probation. You shouldn't have answered that email.
That makes perfect sense. So as we wrap up, tell me about, we've talked about if you could talk to yourself, to your younger Wendy when you started in real estate, what's the most important thing that team leaders today need to know in today's market?
That's a really good question. I think just that agents have a choice with whom they can associate with. So you want to create as much value as you can. For us, it's been creating a true sense of family togetherness that isn't just transactional. Our team knows that we genuinely care about them. We will be there for them. And we have done stuff, like I said, that is so far outside of the scope of real estate, but it's just because we care about our people. So again, creating something that gives people a balance, stability. Lead generation is obviously number one. And for us, being a really strong listing agents, we're both strong listing agents. And then the buyer leads coming out of Zillow, that's been a really great way to feed our team as much as we can, of course. And then having Elizabeth Graves as our team manager, being able to offer that coaching. That's huge. If you have a really good experienced team leader, you should be offering free coaching to your people. That should be a mandatory. Listen, we're going to sit down, and Keller Williams has all these programs. One's a 411. It's just being able to work backwards from how many leads you have to generate to get to the number of sales that you want to have in a year. And that's what she sits down with every year around November, December. She sits down with all of our team members. What do you want to make next year? You want to make 100? Okay. How many deals do you need? What's your meeting? Works backwards, finds it. And then each week, what are you doing to achieve that goal? How many calls have you made? And some people take advantage of it and some don't. But, we don't chase those that don't. That they're also the ones not putting up the big numbers.
Well, and the key is the weekly follow-up, right? So a lot of us get right the annual strategic, hey, let's set big goals, but then we forget about them. And to have yourself or someone on your team who's authorized by the agent gives permission to hold accountable to those goals that you meet with frequently, weekly, is fantastic. Sounds like Elizabeth Graves, that Elizabeth is kind of a mother hen figure, if you will.
100%. She's the same age as me. She's 60, and she is the mother hen for the group. She just is fantastic.
Yeah, and keeps them accountable. So
100%.
That's phenomenal.
She's always sourcing for content, and every day we'll send out some inspirational message or, hey, know this one blurb, or, because I'm a numbers girl, I'm always about absorption rates and numbers. And she's the opposite. She's more like, okay, here's what you need to get in. So we all have our strengths, and it comes together really well for us.
It's an old adage, but they just need to know that you care. That's the number one way to grow your team with people you want. Is to care.
My business partner says it all the time with clients. She goes, they don't know that you care until you show them. And that's true.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Well, Wendy Willis, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
I'm happy to share any information. My email is wendywillis@kw.com. And our website is willisandsmith.com. So feel free to reach out if you want any help. I'm happy to help. I love it. As a matter of fact, I find it fulfilling.
Love it. Love it. I learned a lot today, and I'm super grateful for your time investment in all of us. So thanks for being on the show, and looking forward to seeing you crush your team this year.
You're sweet. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
And that's a wrap on another episode of the MegaTeam Mastermind. I hope you found some nuggets of wisdom that you can use to leverage your real estate team to make an impact and to build a legacy. A huge thank you to our incredible guest and, of course, to our sponsor, MegaTeamMentor.com, where you can get a free, detailed assessment of your real estate team's health, including a free customized scorecard that will quickly and objectively diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of your real estate team business. That's MegaTeamMentor.com for your free real estate team health assessment. If you enjoyed the show, I would consider it a personal favor if you would subscribe or leave us a review so that we can get this podcast out to others who want to make an impact and leave a legacy. I hope you'll tune in to our next episode for more leadership insights, strategies, and stories of success and failure. Until then, this is John Tiller, and as always, I'd like to speak an ancient blessing on you as we go. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you